A very good afternoon to all. We welcome you all. Respected Vice Chairman, President, speakers of this webinar, panelists, and all the attendees, hearty welcome to all. On the occasion of Mental Health Awareness Week, which started from 10th of May till 16th of May, RAC Medical and Health Sciences University welcome you to this webinar on enhancing mental health through nature and the environment. This webinar aims at enhancing your mental health with reference to interaction with nature and the effective use of environment. It will also throw light on the important role of the family in mental health. With this brief introduction, I would like to call upon our President, Dr. S. Gurmat Rao, to give the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
A very good afternoon to each and every one of you. Of course, for some across the globe, it may be good morning or good evening. Anyway, we are very happy to again come back to you through the webinar with a very important session, enhancing the mental health, again through nature and through environment. Distinguished delegates, speakers, dear delegates, and all the RAC MHSU family members, RAC Hospital panelists, and other faculty, consultants, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, it's a very proud moment for RAC MHSU and RAC Hospital. As all of you know, always whenever we conduct a CME or webinar, it's always with the RAC Hospital, which we are very happy to do, and I'm always happy to see Dr. Shweta supporting us. So it's my privilege and pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to all the distinguished speakers, especially Mrs. Mary, and of course our own speakers, Dr. Talat and Mrs. Carol, and our panelists, Dr. Shweta and Dr. Abdullah Salman. Actually, I need not tell so much about the way COVID has created the stress. Definitely, when I go on, if I go on talking, your stress will be increased, which I don't want to do that. But however, one very important thing what we need to understand, even we have seen when the COVID patients are being treated, the mental aspects or the psychological aspect gets the least priority. Very unfortunate. Of course, it happens to most of the diseases. In spite of so much of advancement in mental health, still it happens. But especially with the reference to COVID, you know, the fear that has created, the uncertainties that it has created, that's enough to cause a mental disturbance in any, even the strong, balanced fellow. We know that. So what that means, what individually it is impossible to manage ourselves. Even the strongest person, mentally or emotionally, very, very difficult. In fact, I can share with you our own experience. First my son and our cook got COVID positive in our house. So somehow we managed giving their separate room, disposable plates and all those for 14 days. And added to that, we had to be quarantined. And everything became all right. Everybody became negative. We were happy, getting ready to join. And my wife, who was negative 2-3 times, she became positive. You can imagine our condition. After going through the quarantine for 12 days, again repeat the cycle when my wife became positive. This is, let me tell you, in spite of all the care. So I'm just only sharing with you, the extent of tension, extent of anxiety and fear it creates, and your helplessness at every level. I think if for any human being, or any living being rather, a feeling of uncertainty, feeling of helplessness, that's enough to disturb the whole balance. So let me congratulate Dr. Talat, Dr. Mrs. Carol, and of course Mrs. Reena also for joining this today, coming out with a very good topic of how we can utilize the nature and the environment where we live for the benefit of our mental health. I'm very sure it will be very, very beneficial to all the people who will be, all the delegates who will be listening to that. What is very important for us? Let us remember one thing. Individually, it is not possible at all manage the life now. Day by day it's becoming. So I think let us make it a point, at least let this message be, put across. We have to come together. We have to, not just physical coming together, anyway, you have to maintain the social distance, but we can bring the mind together. That is the best thing we can do so that we can support each other, we can help each other, we can console each other. If not, we cannot do anything. I think that you don't need any investment, that we don't need any money, or don't need a grant from different foreign countries or charity organization. So that we are capable of doing. So let us do that freely and let us play our role in consoling another human being, taking care of somebody whenever that opportunity is there, and supporting in whatever it is possible. I'm very sure we will be serving that purpose by these type of webinars. So once again, let me congratulate our team and thank Mrs. Reena Thomas for joining us. And of course, always we are grateful to Dr. Shweta and her team from RAC Hospital. And I'm very sure all of you will be giving the message what is really needed, that how to support ourselves and how to support others. I think that message should be told not once, not twice, a number of times. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and once again a hearty congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. During this pandemic, it has become very important for us to maintain good mental health and be strong in difficult times. To achieve this, we need to maintain healthy atmosphere around us and through effective use of environment. Now moving ahead with the first webinar session by one of the eminent speakers, Ms. Reena Thomas. Let me introduce Ms. Reena Thomas. Ms. Reena Thomas is a clinical psychologist from India. She completed her MPhil in clinical psychology with neuropsychology and specialization from India. She has been working in the UAE from last 12 years and has expertise in various forms of psychotherapy and trauma-focused therapy. For the past 4 years, she has been associated with Medeor Hospital, Dubai, UAE, a unit of BPS Healthcare Group. With this brief introduction, I would like to call upon Ms. Reena Thomas on the floor. Thank you very much. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And I must say good afternoon to all the participants and all the audience over here. And before I start itself, I make a small apology that I will not be staying through the whole presentation. I'm very sorry that it is between my OP duties. So anyone who has a question, you can always post it in between, so that moderator will raise it to me before I leave the session. And it's lovely to be with you all, though I cannot see anyone over here except me. So that is a sad story of all these webinars, which has become a part of our life due to the COVID. So now when I, just 1 second, for me to minimize, okay. So hope you all seeing my presentation. Are you able to see?
Yeah, madam, we are able to see.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it in the slideshow?
Yeah, it is there in the.
It is in the slideshow mode?
Yeah, no, we can keep in slideshow.
Just 1 second.
Yeah.
Is it fine now?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, you can continue.
Yeah. So when I accepted Ms. Carol's invitation to talk about mental health, I readily accepted. But then I didn't know, what to say, like the obstacles or the journey ahead. And when I read through, is that I have to make you all more familiar with a topic which we live in without realizing that we are living in. So most of the time what happens is like, we are living in this world. That means, okay, there is an environment which we are interacting with constantly without realizing that we are interacting with it or like we are making use of it. So now when we have to connect this topic together, that's where I was completely stuck. Now what to do? Because it's very easy to say like, effectively use your environment when you yourself not even recognize that you're using it. So that's when I started recognizing, okay, am I using a better chair to sit? Am I using like in a better facility? So am I, the lighting condition is enough? Like, am I sleeping in a better place? So that is when you start recognizing that, okay, oh, yes, these factors are on a day-to-day basis influencing us. But unfortunately, we are too fast that we don't even recognize it. So mental health, you all must be familiar that it's not absence of a disease, rather it is a state of complete physical, mental, spiritual, and social well-being, where the one person is able to utilize all their abilities. So, and that helps them to cope up with the normal stresses of their life, and they can contribute once, they can contribute in the best possible ways to the community they live in. So now in that context, like, why is environment important? So you can see that environment is something which, you are quite, familiar over there as one of the factor which enhances the entire, mental health conditions. For example, like you will see, most of the time, like when we living in a healthy environment. One second, I'm still not able to move my slides. Okay, so when we live in this healthy environment, you will see that nowadays, like when the climate change or any kind of natural disaster, so the health impacts of those kind of air pollution and another, whatever different types of environment pollution. So that is considered as a critical, public health issue throughout the world. So which makes it very clear that a clean and healthy environment is essential for a person to retain their health and the well-being. So now what is environment? As I told you in the beginning itself, we live in that. Everything around us that is surrounding us causes, or constitutes what is environment. So it does influence the day-to-day life and it affects the life and development of each one of us in a very complex way. One second. Okay, so now it is a very, as we are wired in so much within our environment, you can see that it is an innate awareness of our environment, and we are very sensitive to our surroundings, to survive. We constantly look out for environment with certain qualities. Now, suppose if you go to a place like you go to a hotel, or you go to a any of the tours or trips which you're making, you immediately look out for is like, what is there, what is there to give you the best, what is there to make your mind more calmer. So suppose you will see that there are three things which usually people look out for: whether I am comfortable. Now suppose somebody has to come to me to be in this premises over here, they always look for is whether the environment is comfortable. They don't go to, they look out for, where is Baldwai, or where is this place, where is this hospital located. So they look out for an environment where they are psychologically comforted, and along with that comfort, they also look for physical comfort. Suppose if I'm making them sit in a very close, congested room, they wouldn't want to come back again. They always look for their physical comfort also to be in a session even. So we are constantly looking out for these kind of needs in our environment. And without fail, I must mention that one of the prime need is for the safety and security. So we will be making sure most of the time is like, we are safe and secure in the environment which we are getting into. So now, as I told you, we are wired, into the nature or wired into this environment. We are dependent, physiologically also on the nature. So you can see that, WHO claims that more than 25% of the disease burden, you can see it is attributable to the environmental factors. So that is where, the environmental degradation, how it is affecting our health. So you can, even now also you can see like how things are getting affected across the world. When there is COVID on one side, when there is environmental damages on the other side. So you can see that, the most importantly for health, the environment can create or reduce stress, which in turn impacts our bodies in multiple ways. So you can see that the brain, our nervous system, endocrine, and the immune systems, they are constantly interacting. So it is, easily put it like this, what you're thinking at any moment is changing your biochemistry. So you can see that interconnection over there. It is not like, the brain is making it, or, it's in turn also, whatever you're thinking also making the changes in the brain. For example, the, stress of a noisy, confusing hospital room, might result in a patient not only feeling worried, helpless, etc., also increases their high blood pressure, heart rate, or muscle tension. And you can see that in addition, hormones released can also, these kind of stress hormones can even suppress the immunity system also. So it might take the healing also take more time. So stress is an important medical consideration, and creating an environment that reduces stress is definitely an important aspect of a better health outcome. So you will see one of these, the next slide, you will see that how this, the environmental exposures is, that complex interaction between different biophysical environmental stressors and the other buffers, that the buffers are like, the proximal environment, for example, the city, the family, the everything, like, and even the distal contextual environments, you will see the nature and natural disasters, climate change, etc. So you can see that these factors, or the physical environmental factors, and as I told you, the proximal or distal factors, they interact with the central structures and functions of the brain, so that that influences the neurobiology of different mental health issues. So for example, you can see in the slide how this is affected, how you can see how the environmental exposures and depression is over here. So you can see how these factors like physical environment, noise, the excessive use of all these heavy metals or air pollution, etc., kind of thing, how in interaction with the other environmental factors, that neighborhood, work, family, friends, so all these things are how it is affecting the mental health of a person. Even that can cause a depression. So it is one second. So Manas, so, but having said that, you needed to understand that we all have the freedom to change at any instant, So Viktor Frankl, so you can see that, that philosophical approach towards a life, that we are not fully conditioned or determined, as it is, like, just like that. But you can rather see that we have the capacity, we can determine ourselves what we give into the conditions, or, so it is ultimately, we are the ones who are determining. So it doesn't, man doesn't exist, but always decides what assistance will be, what he will become in the next moment. So especially about, in his interaction with the environment, he can decide how we want the environment to be. We have that power to, decide the environment. So, some of those aspects, like which I mentioned over there, you will see over here, that outdoor air pollution, can cause like the mental health outcomes like depression, anxiety, sadness, personality disorders. That is strange. Like, I don't know how about this, exactly this personality disorders. It could be an indirect effect also. And there is an emerging association you can see between this is, the scientific evidence currently available on the mental health. So similarly, you can see the urban environment built in, the built environment like housing, crowding, poor indoor air quality, lights, etc. That can also cause distress, aggression, trauma, poor cognitive development. So you can see there is a positive association between the air pollution and the urban exposure, through which the built environment does directly affect the mental health. So And you can see how the climate changes. We are very aware about, how this post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, etc. is happening. And noise pollution, how the annoying, it's not, there's a worldwide recognition of how the noise pollution is an environmental hazard and is linked to the accelerating and intensifying the development of mental health issues, and along with that, other chemical pollutants, pesticides, metals, so even the metals, when you say lead and all, you have heard of it as in, causing some kind of, connection when you, say about ADHD and all. So you can see depression, anxiety, and stress, hormonal disruption, etc., can be caused by these kind of pollutions. So now research evidence points to that. This is related to one of the studies which has shown how the conventional ways hospitals have been designed to contribute to stress and adverse. So even now when I look back, the different places where I worked, I can see that difference in the place, like where you are, the kind of structure which we we are exposed to, that can affect our mental health and well-being, especially for the staff. You can see if they have to be in a hospital for sometimes, like they would say, I had to walk to the canteen for 10 minutes. That affects their productivity, and even that affects, that makes them get affected also. So if it is the better designs can help the better mental health and productivity of the people who working in different places. And it's the same as well as at home also. So for example, if you'll see that if you are at home, and if you are if your kitchen is into the other side, and if your storeroom is in one side, and you will see that, oh come on, you have to walk all the way from here to there to make to get something. And if you're doing that on on a regular basis, you will see that the person gets more stressed out, and it's not handy for the person. So if the better design makes it less stressful, safer and better places for the work, as well as at home also, you will see the similar experience. And so what factors create our environment? To be more precise, you will see that it begins with our interior living spaces and their elements. So as I told you, until I decided to talk about environment, I never recognized, like how my lighting system is, or how the space is, or yes, color, I'm very particular, so I'm very aware about it, but the other things not given so much of importance for several reasons. So our experience of our living spaces also includes sounds, music, aroma, sensations, etc. So in addition, some of other factors are that there are larger physical environments. That is, suppose this includes the design of the buildings that surrounding us, to make which we have to encounter on a daily basis. Our homes, the bank or the offices which we have to work, or the place of work, and so if you see that it's a layout of the places that makes it more attractive too. So the social environment, you will see that the people with whom we share the interior space and all the factors associated with them affect this. We are all very aware about it. When we have to live with somebody or in a space where when we have to work in a space where where we are not comfortable, that affects our mood, behavior, and even the relationship factors. So this also extends out to the various communities of people who we belong to. And the natural environment, I'm not getting too much into the natural environment because I'm sure the next speaker, doctor, is going to mention about it. So the natural surroundings, air, water, earth, and even the internal environment, which is usually neglected, because environment we never understand, understand always as a factor outside us. So there is something internal to us, like in our memories, our attitudes, beliefs, values, intention, that can also have a largest impact of all. So now how it can be effectively used, so a few examples you can see that, by facilitating, the environment, if you're able to if you're able to modify the environment, and it can facilitate or discourage interactions among people, And so you will see that an inviting space with comfortable chairs and privacy can encourage a family to stay and visit with the patient. So even otherwise also, like you will see that, as I told you, in a home, like where most of the time what happens is, like if if a hall is the living hall is arranged in such a way where it is spacious and where it can accommodate the family members, you will see more family members to be in the hall, or there will be a more of like interaction, and then you will enjoy the benefit of the social support in turn. So but whereas, like sometimes because of certain reasons, like you will see that we are forced to live in a very cluttered kind of congested spaces, and that affects the mental health of the people. So the environment can also influence people's behavior and motivation to act. So for example, like you will see, if you see, I have seen in ITs, my parents, my mother especially, that if you put an extra table in the kitchen to make it more easy, or to arrange more, or give more space for the work, next year you will see that it is loaded with a lot of other things. So if a digital corridor, you will see that it will make the staff to leave another item in the hall. So it is like that, how you can affect the people's behavior and motivation to act. So it can also, if you we can modify the environmental factors to enhance the mood also. As I told, like the bright light, both the natural and artificial. Now when I get the light, I make sure whichever hospital I go, I only request them is, okay, my mental health, as well as my patient's mental health, I need some room with some natural light can come in, and make sure that most of the rooms I would see, for the privacy, they will put the blind down, and I will make sure that I put it up, only then I can sit in over there. And you will see that that can improve the health outcomes such as depression, agitation, and sleep. So there are some 5 factors I would like to mention that impact the health outcomes according to certain research factors. Are there? You can see that increasing connection to the nature. You will see that many studies provide strong evidence that even 3 to 5 minutes of contact with the nature can significantly reduce stress and have a complex impact on the emotions, thereby reducing your unpleasant emotions within you and increase the pleasant feelings also. So you can see that this can be achieved by, even in your home also, you can see that the interior gardens, like, or views to the outside, making it in the morning, like move off the curtain and make it more visible, whatever is visible outside, or some art with a nature theme that can see that enhance the connection to the nature. And in a hospital environment, or even otherwise also, offering choices or options to that can also reduce the stress. Like for example, to adjust the lighting. And today one of the patients who had come today, her one of the main stress, I've heard it even from other people also. Just one second, excuse me. Even I have heard it from other patients as well, that her one of the main stresses, the temperature control of the AC is not with not with her. It's more of like the husband controls the. I've heard another patient, another child coming and telling the parents control it. So whereas so that options, the ability to adjust the lighting and temperature, choosing the music, selecting the places to sit, control the timing of the meals. So all these things definitely help a person to significantly reduce their stress level. So in addition, you can see better way finding reduces the disorientation, especially in the hospital kind of places. If you have an older people with different conditions, you will see that such kind of a facility can help them to be in more control and reduce the stress level for them. And enhancing social support, there is extensive evidence that social support from family and close friends, as I told you, that is one of the external, the proximal environment, where you will see that people, fans, family, etc. So those social support also helps a person to recover, or to help. Most of the times, people who are working in clinics or hospitals, you would have heard of this thing, or even in the layman would tell each other, I feel so lonely. So even that loneliness it comes, that itself indicate that, social support is one such thing which can reduce so many, mental health conditions where, it is available. Even in some of the studies have shown that, the therapeutic relationship itself, that helps a lot, so that connection, someone to listen to you helps a lot. So you will see over here, the social support can be enhanced by providing the lounges with comfortable furniture, or, the designing, whatever, like patient rooms or even our own homes to accommodate, to visitors or make them comfortable. So then you will see that people would love to come or people would love to stay, etc. kind of thing. So reducing the environmental stressors, for example, like the ones which I said, all those like, factors, physical, environmental stressors, helps a person to improve the, mental health level. So good design can reduce, noising from the paging systems or, other ways that can reduce the sources and by increasing the sound absorption. And, another one, last factor which I would want to mention is about providing the pleasant diversions. That diversions can be the videos, like, now, nowadays, like, the children would be more familiar with this virtual tour, so you will see that, lots of videos with or artwork of nature, aquariums, etc. That also helps in reducing it is a pleasant diversions which helps us to interact with our nature, despite sitting and crying that, okay, I don't have the facility, the COVID, doesn't let us to mingle with, there are plenty of, virtual facilities also, or, something which we can do in our own small, comfortable place which we live in. So what I can do at home, like when you say that, you can see that you have the most control of your environment at home. As I told you, we all love that control, so, but then I understand, there are definitely some limitations. Some of us will have some limitation, the needs and preferences of the other people. Sometimes, like, the siblings will have to share the room, and the cost of making the changes, the layout of the house itself will not be favoring us, but still, it's better. Sorry. One of the suggestions would be that choose a room or a corner, that you can make into a healing space. So if you already have a favorite place that you can use, it is wonderful. If it has a good natural light and view of the outdoors, though I don't, so as I told you, my personal experience, what I've done is, I've just put the blind up, and then I can see that, there's a small balcony outside. So whenever in between the patients, when just to have a, quick brisk walk, I would just walk into and see, like, what's happening over there, and there are, like, lots of plants, and, it's a small garden they set up over there, and that even makes me feel much lighter. So now, why don't you consider some activities which you find most healing and adapt the space to, them. For example, like, now suppose, instead of cribbing that, okay, I don't have a space, so just find a comfortable small space, at least, like, you have in your, home, and, make it a more, place where you can sit and meditate, or, there's a comfortable child and a chair and a good light into that space. And if you want to read, or if you want to do some activities, or, perhaps a small, water fountain or small garden, which you can do, you will see that, that helps you to relax and focus. And, this can be or even you can be a healing space, like, which can be a workbench or work chair, where you build or fix things, and, you can organize your tools or provide, good light. So as with other spaces, I would definitely want to suggest that, this inner environment is something which we always tend to forget, though, in the current context, I don't know how far that inner environment will be taken, but still, me as a mental health, practitioner, I would definitely want to say that, you have to realize that your optimism, hardiness, self-efficacy, and the sense of control are linked to your good health, and that can be learned and practiced. It is not that we all are born with something. We can always learn it. We can always, practice it in our day-to-day life. It is just that what you need to do is, just need to set a positive, create an intention for it. And similarly, you have to set a positive intention for your interactions in the space. Now, one child, had come today, so he was not a child, he's an adolescent, in the late adolescence. So he was like, he was trying to cut himself off from the friends, saying that I'm a burden. So rather I would say, like, if you haven't, create that intention for your interactions in the space provided, that actually lift up, your mood rather than, put you down. So to summarize, like, you can see that, as I told you, we are inner, we are wired, inside, we are, there is an innate, need in us, innate awareness in us, and the innate need to look out for the environment, the same as, like, the environment is not complete with human presence in that. So the man and environment are interrelated, and hence you can see that they impact each other. But the rosy side of it is that we are powerful enough and we have the capacity to modify the environment to enhance our mental health. So if you do it in a right way, you get the better result also. If you damage, like, you will be taking the brunt of it in the life later. So thanks to you. Before saying bye for now, I have a warning for you, which is adopted from one of the approaches, like, because I don't know how to, how fruitful my presentation was, like, it's a very short one. And as I told you, I didn't have anything differently to tell you other than to remind you of, like, to just live the environment mindfully. We are doing it, but just live it mindfully, fruitfully. So I have a warning for you. So when your friends meet you or when your colleagues meet you next time, if they are going to ask a question to you, what is better since we met now and after this particular session? So you may make attempts to remember what's been better with you. So another question I wind up, what will be the first thing that you would be doing that may indicate you have decided to make the progress in your life using the environment in an effective way? So thanks to you all.
Thank you, ma'am, for covering different aspects of maintaining mental health through effective use of the environment. You have rightly spoken about psychological comfort, environmental factors which affect our mental health, self-determination, improving physical environment, and different factors which reduces our stress and improves mental health. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will keep the questions to the end. Now we are moving forward with the second webinar session by our next speaker, Dr. Talal, who is a well-known psychiatrist in UAE. He's working as a professor in RAK Medical and Health Sciences University and practicing in RAK Hospital. He will be talking about interacting with nature to enhance mental health. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me, do you see this or not? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We are able to see your screen.
You can see, huh?
We are able to see.
Okay. Yes, I'll be talking about the interaction between nature and how this interaction will enhance our mental health. I was very glad to have this topic when they asked me to talk about this, because I am originally a villager. I was born in a village, and I was born among the nature itself. I was part of the nature, and I always feel pity to my children who were born in flats, in the villas, and in urban areas. And sometimes I think when they grow up, what memory they will have, and what deep feeling which I have now, my understanding about life, understanding my attitude about art, about music, about literature, about philosophy. All this was enhanced by my origin, because I was born among the trees, I was born among birds, I was born among animals from every type of animal there. And I hope I will convey a message to you today. And please try to listen to my message, that please go back to your origin. Once upon a time, our ancestors were just part of the environment. There was no distinction between our human being before the Neanderthal animal, human, and our four-aging. And they were part, like all animals, they were living, and they were protected only by nature. They cannot do anything for the nature. There was complete interaction. There was no aggression between our ancestors, and because their mind was primitive mind. But for thousands of years and the passage of years, their mind and their brain started to grow. And when their brain started to grow, they started to think, to find safe places to live in. This is the only interaction. And as you see here, all the environment is virgin. There is no interference at all. The human being, our ancestors did not do anything. Only they found a place to hide and to be secure from the other animal. They used to sleep on the trees. But after that, when their brain grown up, they started to use weapon and they started to attack the environment. They attacked the nature. This is the first sign. They started to make change in the nature. After that, when they discovered the fire, they not only they domineered the environment, they don't need all the living creation there. Now they can control all the animals. They can control all the nature behind them. And this was the first step of civilization. When they knew fire, they now became safe. They can sleep on the ground, not on the trees. They can protect themselves from the predators. But unfortunately, this was on the expense of the virginity of the environment. My topic will be addressing these three ideas. The effect of connection to nature, what the science tell us, what the literature tell us, the benefit of exposure to sunlight, which is the part of the nature, and what the literature tell us, and the benefit of walking. Let us start with this study showed the effect of exposure to nature. All are documented with studies which were published in very prestigious journals, and very prestigious studies were done to show, is this scientifically true or just we are talking? Over 40 years of research showing the experience of nature are linked to improve of our physical health. Many studies. I'm just giving only one example from every idea, only from every topic, only one example, but there are so many studies on this area, how our mental health, this is by Hartig et al., for example, in 2003, they were talking about the blood pressure, the heart, the blood sugar, and how the exposure to the nature for sometimes daily, it can reduce our blood pressure. Lower mortality from cardiovascular disease, also they found are the people who are living in the rural places who have the same condition with the people who are living in the urban places. They live more years than their counterparts. That is because they are in contact all the time with the nature. And when they expose this to experiment and they give the patient of the cardiovascular a few hours daily or few minutes even daily to be interacting with the, what is the meaning by interaction? Interaction means that go through, plant, or deal with the environment and the plants and all the surrounding. They found that their mortality rates raised. Improve self-perceived general health. There was a questionnaire. This is the study with Cardan et al. They gave a questionnaire to people, and I will talk more about this questionnaire to people and how they feel about their general. There is many questionnaire to indicate self-report, self-assessment of people, how do they see their health, general health. They found that after exposure to nature, they found more marks on the after the exposure to nature. Improved mental well-being, not only physical health, not only general health, but their well-being. That means reduced risk. The previous speaker talked about how the interaction with nature. This is approved by many of the studies. One of them is this study. Greater social, not only improvement of mental well-being, no, the social well-being, their social ability, their social interaction, and their fear of people have been diminished after exposure to environment. Not only exposure, interaction with the environment. Then promotion of positive health behavior, and not only their health or their perception about their health, but also promotion of a positive health behavior. They are advising other people. They become proactive, not only reactive, proactive in this area. And even the dermatological disorder have been improved after exposure to the environment. There are, I was interested in this study because it was for me strange, and I thought the opposite. But when I went through these studies, I found that the psoriasis, for example, and many of the skin diseases improved after exposure to sunlight and after exposure to open air and nature. I will just mention one of them. One of these previous studies, I will go in detail with this. This is the 30-day wild development and evaluation of large-scale nature engagement campaign to improve well-being. They make a campaign, and they included patients. They send a questionnaire for them, pre-exposure and during exposure and after exposure to the environment. A survey was used to evaluate the impact of campaign. The survey measured the connection to nature, pro-nature behavior, and health well-being. Well-being was measured with a single question on general happiness with 11-point scale. It is one question, 11.0, 1, 2, 3, up to 11. How do you score your sense of happiness? This is before and after exposure, and has been shown to correlate highly with multi-item scale. Health was measured with a single item based on 5-point rating scale. This is, I think, my colleague psychologists, they know this scale, and the 5-point rating scale, how to assess your sense of health. Nature connection was measured with single item about inclusion of nature itself. Yani, did you interact? Did you plant something? Did you decorate something? Did you went to, for example, to the tree and did something for the tree? To irrigate it or something like that, this interaction. Then a measure of pro-nature conservation behavior does not exist. Then they developed a questionnaire to see the conservation behavior. That means how to keep the environment in a good state. This was the design of the study. They started in May. and they should end in July. But they send the questionnaires, all the questionnaires we mentioned before, on September, later on, which is the follow-up. This is the pre-participation and this is the post-participation. And then what did they found? This were the participants. The participants were 2,203. This is what the number. But only the people who stayed for the last time, I think, was 345. And the people who responded on follow-up was 289. What they found, they measured the four aspects that I told you: the connection to nature, and then the conservation behavior, and their perception about their health, and their perception about their happiness. All the parameters was significant at the 0.010, which is very highly significant. So they found the exposure to nature after 1 month have resulted in a significant improvement in the conservation behavior, health, and happiness. Also, and the follow-up study always significant, as you see here, and which is very highly significant. Their feeling of happiness, their feeling of conservative behavior, and their feeling of general health. This is not only because this study showed the exposure to nature and how it affects our mental health and our perception of mental health and our physical health and our conservative behavior. But there is another study, very nice study, to show not only the exposure, but the duration of the exposure differ. And the more you expose to the environment, the more you will get benefit from it. So this is a study was done by Shanghai et al. The population sample was 1,538 residents of Brisbane city, Australia, and they this is what the methodology, 7-item questionnaire to assess depression. And all of my colleagues know this 7-item questionnaire to assess depression. And we give asking 7 questions, and every question have a scale from 0 to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the sum will be 35, and they will assess the feeling of depression before and after the exposure, and the duration of the exposure to the self-reported number of days in which physical exercise occurred for more than 30 minutes during the survey. It was only 1 week, and these are the results. They found there is a correlation between, regarding depression, between the exposure and the score of depression. The score become much less, significantly less after exposure for 1 week only to the. And if you see here, this 1 week, still the depressive score high, but more than 1 week, the depressive score is much less and was also significant. Also, they measured the intensity, and for how intense was interaction with the environment. Then this is the high blood pressure also. They found that there is a big difference between the previous and after, and also between 1 week, less than 1 week, and more than 1 week, how it affects our blood pressure. This is just studied, so we are not talking poetry. No, we are talking science, complete science, that exposure to, because as I told you, our ancestors were part of the environment, and when our human brain developed, and we got the cerebral cortex, we started to attack the environment. Not only do we control the environment now, Now we are controlling the environment, because people before our ancestors were worshiping environment, because environment was giving them everything, and only what they do, they find places to hide from the predator. But now we are completely control our environment until we killed it. We kill the environment, we kill the nature. But still our genes have tendency to go to its origin. As my feeling now to go back to my village, I have tendency craving for the nature, because this is was what my genes built on. This is other aspect, social cohesion, not only depression, not only blood pressure, but also their social interaction ability or social cohesion. There is a correlation between social phobia and the exposure or less exposure to environment. And the people who more exposed to nature have less social phobia and become more sociable than the people who are not exposed. And then the physical activities also increased after exposure. So it's not only the exposure, it is the duration of the, and this is to test the intensity of how he was interacting with the green places. I will go to the other parameter in my talk, which is the exposure to sunlight. Before, our ancestors were worshipping sun, what the god, and our grandfather in Egypt were considered the sun was the god, because it gives us everything. It gives us light. It gives us the hotness we need. It gives us everything. And I think all of you now aware in the days of the pandemic how in all protocols of dealing with coronavirus is vitamin D. And all of you know that vitamin D is mainly manufactured in sunlight. These are the health benefits associated with regular and optimum exposure to sunlight. Reduced risk of type 2 diabetes. These all are documented, supported by studies. They found that the more you expose to sunlight, the less the possibility that you will have diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Preventive vitamin D deficiency, and all of you know that the vitamin D is only manufactured in sunlight, and exposure to sun for 15 minutes daily will give enough vitamin D in your body. It also found that post-immunity, and we found that what is the relation between immunity and sun? Maybe it might be related to the vitamin D, might be related to that. And until now, we don't know why people who are exposed to sun are more immune against viruses, maybe due to the efficiency or they have vitamin D enough. Reduced cancer risk, and all of you know that the cancer is related to immune or are related to each other. When our immune system is low or weak, we're more likely to develop cancer. And all of you might ask me, what about cancer skin? I'm not talking about the other exposure to sun. And the healthy exposure to sun is between 8 in the morning up to 10, and afternoon from 5 to 7, for example. This is where the maximum ultraviolet, the healthy ultraviolet will be there. But of course, I'm not advising you to expose your bodies to sun in the midday, especially in this area. Also, they found a relation between lower blood pressure and the control of blood pressure and exposure to sun, and many explanations for that. One of them is maybe melatonin. Exactly, they don't know the reason, but they found the association between lower blood pressure or lowering blood pressure and more response to antihypertensive medication with the exposure to sun, and help in weight loss also. There is no, until now, they don't know exactly why it helped in weight loss. Is due to vitamin D or what, I don't know. And improve mood, طبعا. Improve mood, we will talk about this in details because this is my area of interest. And all of you that in Europe, before the Renaissance or even during the Middle Ages, the TB was very common there. TB was very common, and one of the crucial and most important treatment for the TB is to expose the patient for sun. And they found, coincidentally, they noted that not only their TB improved, but their mood will raise when they expose to sun, and this we will talk to you later on. I will talk to you. Then they improve sleep of course, because when the sun shines, our melatonin disappears from the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain, but when the sun sets, it will raise, and this will enhance our sleep. Improve Alzheimer's symptoms, very strange that they look to this area, how the sun improve Alzheimer's symptom. Yeah, some people attribute it to vitamin D, for example, and some other people attribute it to melatonin. Heals skin disorders, better bone health, of course, because of the relation between vitamin B and the calcium, and they can cure depression, which we will talk about, and improve eye health, improve brain function, and protect from seasonal affective disorders, which I'm going to talk now. And this is some of the explanation of the exposure to sunlight and its one theory and its positive health, effect on positive health on the physical and mental health. Maybe melatonin is first made in the morning in the eye and the brain, and autophagy cells recycling. Apoptosis, we have the autophagy cells which take the dead cells. Melatonin control our mitochondrial DNA, give us abundant energy, turn off nuclear genome, and this will prevent lots of diseases like cancer, like depression, like diabetes mellitus, and so on. And all of us know that melatonin is antioxidant. This is well known. We are teaching our students. This is a rare condition in UAE and in our area because we have enough light. This is what we call seasonal depression. This seasonal depression is common in Europe, especially in Scandinavian countries, and because sometimes they have many days without sunlight, and people will experience this syndrome, which sometimes called winter depression or winter blues or summer depression, summer sadness, because there in some countries the summer they have no sun there. Sometimes in Sweden, for example, in some areas they may pass 30 days without seeing the sun. And seasonal depression, the best is seasonal depression, and this is the official name, which is the DSM-5, is a seasonal depression because it comes mainly in winter or become mainly in certain season. If the summer there is the one which have no sun, it's called summer. So the best name is the seasonal depression. What are the symptoms of seasonal depression? Difficulty in walking, decreased energy, like all other depression, carbohydrate craving. This is the difference between the seasonal depression, how to diagnose seasonal depression, and the difference between seasonal depression and the ordinary depression we have every day, or the classical depression. The people in seasonal in classical depression, they have loss of appetite, but in seasonal depression they have craving, and they increase their weight and they increase their appetite. On the contrary to our non-depression. Increased sleep, the patient will sleep more hours than usual, and they weight gain and have difficulty in concentration, decreased libido, and withdrawal from family and friends. Depression, come on, of course, it will be sadness, it will be depressed mood, and anxiety, irritability, sometimes suicidal thoughts. And as I told you, this is a rare condition in our country here and all the area, because alhamdulillah we have abundance of sun here. We don't have seasonal depression. And one of the treatment of this is to expose to light. If they don't have the natural light, there is artificial light. They expose the patient for 30 minutes daily, 30 minutes for artificial light containing ultraviolet rays. Seasonal depression is related to lack of serotonin and serotonin polymorphism, and could play a role in seasonal affective disorder. Another theory is that it may be related to melatonin, which is produced in dim light and darkness. And as I told you, melatonin is antioxidant. But if we have excess of melatonin, it might be depressive. It might be depressive. Then I will talk about the third parameter, which is interacting with nature, which is the walk. As we walk, all our ancestors walk with us. Because before inventing the cars and airplanes and all these, we were only using our legs to move from place to place. And this is what our nature, we were born, we were created like that. And all what we are now is artificial. But our origin is to use our feet to walk and to place. So when we walk, we call our ancestors and we rejoin again with the nature. This also the same. I will show some of the studies to show the effect of walking. Aids in weight loss, of course, because of the calories we expend. Improve heart health. This is well known for everybody. Or if you go to any cardiologist, he will advise you to walk at least 30 to 40 minutes a day. And they say that walking for 30 to 40 minutes a day will reduce your blood pressure, and you will have less need, and you will reduce the doses of the antihypertensive medication. Reduce the risk of chronic disease, of course, like diabetes and coronary heart disease. All this. Prevent cancer. Very strange. And this study, I found at least two studies here. One in 2007 and the other one 2014, to say that there is a negative association between the ability to develop cancer and walking every day. Delay aging. you see our people in the villages, you will never give them their real age because they are using their legs rather than their cars. Reduce the risk of stroke in women. This study also shows that there is a negative association between developing stroke in women and walking every day. Lower blood pressure, as I told you, and this is well known when we were a student, and our professor used to tell us that walking daily for 40 minutes will make you in less need to antihypertensive medication. And if you have mild hypertension, you can treat it only by walking daily. Decrease the risk of diabetes. Of course, there is a connection between weight loss and the risk of diabetes mellitus. Increase lung capacity. Of course, when you work, you will need more lung. You will use your lung more, and your lung will be habituated to have more air. Help to curb sugar craving. Very strange also. Yani, this is unexpected. When I went through this study, I went through it. And it should be the contrary. If we walk, we will do exercise, we have craving for sugar. No, but this study was done on maybe, I remember, maybe 300 people, and they were giving them questionnaire, and after they started to exercise by walking daily, they found that their craving for sugar became less. Improve your mood and lower depression. Come on. I'm always advising my patient to walk every day and to do exercise every day. They found that walking, especially in the hurry walking or running, will reduce our hippocampus, will increase the size of our hippocampus, which is already reduced in depression. And also in schizophrenia. Now the CT scan or MRI found that our hippocampus involuted and become less in size in schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder and in depression. And they found that cycling daily for 30 minutes or walking daily for 45 minutes might regain or repair this involution of our hippocampus, and this was shown in the CT scan and MRI studies. So it is antidepressant. I'm always telling my patient, if he comes with mild depression, you have two choices: either to do daily exercise and you will not need any medication. He will tell me, doctor, I have no even interest to do that. I don't have even interest to do that. This is true, because most of the depressed people, they have loss of interest. They cannot do that. But if he managed to overcome this and to force himself to do exercise, I will tell him you don't need to take antidepressant, because there is a relation between doing exercise and the serotonin level in our neurotransmitter, in our synapses and in our nervous system. And all of you know that serotonin is the mood neurotransmitter, and when we raise the serotonin, depression will improve. So this is one of the most important advices always psychiatrists and psychologists give to their patient, to walk daily. Boost immune function. Of course, this study also showed that there is a relationship between immune function and reduce the risk of dementia. Very strange. Reduce the risk of dementia. Until now, there is no direct link or direct explanation, but might be due to this, might be due to improved health, might be due to the risk of chronic diseases, might be due to the lower blood pressure to induce the vascular dementia. But this study, especially this study, it was correlation between walking daily and Alzheimer's disease, not vascular dementia, Alzheimer's disease. Even Alzheimer's disease, yes, although it is well known that it has genetic liability, but they found that walking daily will reduce the risk of having the dementia, all types of dementia, including Alzheimer's dementia, prevent you from being disabled in the old age. طبعا you are like a bank, like a bank. I heard this advice from one of my professor. He said to me that if you walk daily, as if you are putting a credit in the bank and you are investing in your bone, because the more we walk, the more calcium we precipitate in our bones, and the more strong will be our bones, and the more healthy will be our bones. So as if you are every day you are putting credit in the bank. So this is will help you when you become old, like me now. And Alhamdulillah, I'm walking every day, and from 5 to 6 kilo, 6 kilos, sometimes more, and it became a habit now. And I cannot tell you that it became addiction. Addiction now. If I don't walk for 3-4 days, I feel my mood become low, and I feel anxious and depressed. So if you do that, if you train yourself to do that, and thank for Muhammad Al-Majd, who is encouraging us to do that, and he is making rewards and making this competition. Unfortunately, I did not share in this competition, but when he knew that I am walking every day 6-7 kilos, he told me, if you join our competition, you would win. Anyhow, the walking is very, very important to this. At last, I want to tell you something. We inherited a beautiful planet from our ancestors. Now it is our time to leave it in the best shape possible for the generation to come. And I think for that, I hope I convey the message to you to rejoin again and to re-interact again with the nature, with the sun, with the weather, with the wild animals, and with the intimidated animals. And inshallah, in the future, I can give a lecture the benefit of having pets in your home, and how it's so many studies about having pets in your home and how it affects our mental state. Thank you very much, and willing to have any question.
Thank you so much, sir. You have correctly highlighted few points which are the star marks of your session related to connection to nature. Some of the scientific evidences you presented, which are clearly reflecting that definitely there is an impact of nature on mental health. And you have highlighted health benefits from the nature, benefits of walking, and the various benefits of sun exposure. Thank you very much, sir. Questions we will keep at the end, sir. The final and the last session of today's webinar is the important role of the family in mental health by Mrs. Carol Matthias. She is a senior lecturer, psychology, and senior student counselor at RAC Medical and Health Sciences University. She is very proactive in organizing various events related to psychology. Thank you very much, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Tarun, for that warm welcome. And a big thank you to the previous two speakers who covered the topic so well about our interaction with the nature and the environment to enhance our mental health. Before I begin with my presentation, I request the IT to play a short video which is very much related to the role of the family in the mental health of its family members. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you got the message from this video that no matter what we do, we have to keep going. And especially when it's to do with family, especially when it's to do with our children, bringing up our children, we just need to remember that we have to keep going. So I'm sharing my screen. All right, you can see my screen, I hope. Yes, Dr. Tarun?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can see.
Yes, ma'am. It's visible here.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so as you know, the topic here is the important role of the family in mental health, and you know that the family is really very important, and that's the reason why I started with that video, just to give more emphasis onto my presentation. And I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all those attending this webinar from different parts of the world. And I hope you will find this informative and in sync with the previous two sessions, which were about nature and the environment. And it's not really a coincidence, but it is basically that it is the Mental Health Awareness Week from 10th to 16th of May. And also it was International Family Day yesterday. So that's the reason why I thought of putting the family in, because the family is basically your immediate environment that you are interacting with on a day-to-day basis. And that is the reason why I thought we'd have nature, environment, and family all put together as one, condensed into one webinar. So happy International Family Day to all of you, although belated. So let's take a look at the content as to what I'm going to do in today's session. So we're going to start at the very beginning. Like they say, it's a very good place to start. And I'm not going to talk about ABC and Do Re Mi, but it's going to be about the beginning, early beginnings of life. And then I'm going to focus on the important role of the family in mental health and be able to give you a few telltale signs to identify if there is someone in your family who is going through any mental health issue, and finally some effective tips. So we're going to start at the very beginning now. So we start at the very beginning. I know life actually begins from conception, but I'm going to start with the neonate, although we cannot ignore the fact that in the prenatal stage, the child is taking in a lot from the mother. The mental health of the mother plays a big role. Yet I'm going to start here from the neonatal stage. So when a baby is born, what are the feelings that are associated with this child? And what are the things that you do for this child? Well, you have love, care, you are patient with the child, and this child brings you happiness, and it's so happy for you to hold this child. But not always, perhaps there are some who hate this child, didn't want this child. It's a pain or a burden to them because maybe it's a lack of freedom for them. So there could be different reasons if this child is unwanted when he's born, and that can affect the mental health of a child. Now what happens is this little child, as you can see, this child starts growing up. And do you feel that in your personal life, you just think about it, do you feel that you still have the same amount of love, care, patience, happiness, and all of those other emotions connected with the child? Or have they decreased? Have they increased? Or do you feel it builds up into hatred, pain, burden, or lack of freedom, or other negative emotions? If there is a change between the two, that is a change, say, from love, care, patience, happiness, when the child is born, to hatred, pain, burden, lack of freedom, etc., as the child grows, then this is a question you need to ask yourself. If there is a change, what changes? What is it? This is just for you to introspect and think about, what do you think actually changes? The child, the parents, the family, or is it the situation, as we would like to call it? We normally tend to blame it on the situation. Okay, this is something to think about. So let's move on now to the important role of the family in mental health. So before we go to that, let me just briefly tell you about mental health. A lot of people feel that mental health is merely the absence of mental illness, but that's not true, because mental health is a lot more. Mental health involves your emotional well-being, your psychological well-being, and your social well-being all put together. The fact that you are feeling happy emotionally, socially, with people around you in society, right? We spoke about nature and the environment. So people around us, psychologically, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we behave, and it's an interaction of all of this. So it's important for us to take care of our mental health, and the best people in this whole wide world could be your family. Because your family is the basic unit of social life. It's the first place that a child comes into when the child is born. He first starts interacting with these people around him. So you need to know at the outset that mental health determines the way we deal with stress. It also determines the way we manage our relationships, and also the choices that we make in life. So if you have mental health issues, then stress will kind of get into you. You might not be able to manage your relationships well. You might make the wrong choices. But if you have good mental health, then you'll be able to manage stress well, your relationships, and make good choices as well. And this affects the way that we think, the way that we feel, and the way that we behave. And these three are always in interaction with each other, because what you think influences what you feel and influences what you behave, and it's a whole vicious cycle. So this is basically what mental health is, and how important mental health is for us is if you just take a look around and look at people who are not as blessed as us. They're not blessed with as good mental health as we are. Or maybe sometimes we tend to look at people who are more happier than us, more successful than us, or appear to be happier than us, and then we start comparing. But the best thing to do would be to work on your mental health, and the family is the best place where this can be done. So before we speak about the role of the family per se, I just like to give you a glimpse of some of those telltale signs. Now, these are the common signs, basically the unusual ones that you would find people having if they do not have good mental health. So just take a look at this slide. I'm going to project various signs, and you can just take a look at them. I'm not going to explain each one of them. This is just for your information. But remember that these unusual signs would occur frequently, and then it could indicate a mental health issue. If it's a one-off incident, then it's okay. But if it's frequent, then it needs some attention. So these are the unusual signs that you can see on the screen right now. Okay, you can just glance through them. And I want to reiterate that if these are occurring frequently, or not much spaced out, then you could expect that it could indicate a mental health issue. So if you are in touch with your family, in communication with your family, you talk, you spend family time, and you know when a family member is going through a mental health issue, then you'll be able to talk to them and help them to get assistance. At the same time, let me just put this forward before I get into the family bit in this presentation. There are two things that the family can do. One is to help you have a good family environment, a happy environment, which will prevent mental health issues from occurring. And the second is, in case you have a mental health issue, which is because of your interaction with people from outside of the family, that is in your environment, in the various social groups that you belong to. If you have mental health issues that arise from there, then the family is responsible, in fact, plays a very important role in helping you through that mental health issue. So one is a preventive role, and the other one is to be able to help you to be therapeutic. So the family can facilitate mental health. Family can provide emotional support. I think this is something which Reena Thomas mentioned in her presentation as well, is about the emotional support that a family can give you. And parents are role models, right? You always have that dad who's a superhero, and your mom who's that super mom, superwoman. So they are role models. And the family plays a great role in the affection that they give to their family members, to their children, to people in the family. Attention. Now, attention, I'd like to bring your attention to the fact that sometimes you find that children tend to grab your attention by doing things which are not really good, like naughty things. But if you give them attention for the right reasons, then they won't seek your attention for the wrong reasons. So giving them attention at appropriate times and whenever possible, appreciating. Who doesn't like appreciation? We all always want appreciation, no matter how many times psychologists may say, pat yourself on the back and praise yourself. Yet we're human beings. We want appreciation. We want people to appreciate us, to accept us as we are. Okay, so these are the 4 A's which are important in mental health. At the same time, the family also facilitates mental health by giving love, care, trust, understanding, okay, being there for each other, and that's the way it can facilitate mental health. And if at all there is a mental health issue among any of the family members, then the family also plays a role in therapy. As already mentioned by the previous 2 speakers, the family does have a great role to play in therapy, where they're there by your side and there to support you. So very often the family is called in when, whether it's to do with physical illnesses or mental health illnesses, the family is really important and plays a great role there. So the family can also debilitate mental health. It can also be the reason as to why you might have mental health issues. And it's something like abuse, like it could be verbal abuse, like saying that just go inside, don't talk to me, instead of this man here, instead of talking to the child and saying it's okay, like, try and calm down, because the child appears to be in a state of shock. But instead of actually saying, let's talk about it, it's a contradiction. At the same time, you say you can talk to me anytime, but when you do something bad, you're a bad boy now. go away. So it could be in the form of abuse. It could be abuse could be physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse. It could be any forms of abuse that could happen in a family. And then there's the denial of emotions, like don't be a crybaby, stop your tears. No, big girls don't cry. Or if a boy is crying, girls cry, boys don't cry. So teaching the kids to hold back their emotions when they're supposed to express it. And it can be very, very difficult for people who have not been encouraged to express their emotions as they're growing up in the family. As I always quote this one patient that I had when I was working in India in a hospital. And there was one of my patients who had attempted suicide. And of course, they saved him. And when he was asked to talk about it, he just couldn't bring himself to speak about it. And he had his brother there beside him. And I asked his brother, so he gave me a brief about what happened, but what was going inside this boy's heart, the patient's heart, he was not able to bring about it. And I asked him again, I said, try, express it, say something. And he made an attempt to speak, kept swallowing his saliva, but every time he opened his mouth, the words just didn't come out. This is because he was never a child who expressed his emotions. When I asked his brother, he said, yes, ever since he was a child, he never expressed himself. He never expressed what he felt. He was just, pushing them all inside. So the family should encourage its members to express their emotions. It's very important. And then you have the expectations, the unrealistic expectations that you have of children. You say, okay, Dad, I want to be an actor, but it's pronounced doctor. So yes, with choosing of a career or what you want to become in life, whom you want to marry. So sometimes you have these unrealistic expectations, and then fighting the family with that can debilitate mental health. And then there's also stereotyping. Okay, stereotyping, not just gender stereotyping, lots of other forms of stereotyping that you can see around us today. And these are like kind of what we call imprinting in the brain, that this is the way it should be and no other way. And the earlier in life that this happens, the more deeply rooted it becomes, and becomes more difficult for the family member to get over it. Even during therapy, they find it very difficult to bring themselves to talk about it or to break those associations because it is so deeply rooted. All right, like Deepika Padukone, you probably know that she is an Indian actress. She's the founder of the Live Love Foundation, and she speaks about how the family does not support its members when they're experiencing mental illnesses, because the family support is required. I've had cases when I was in school, was working in school, with the parents of children who were referred for counseling. And it was so difficult to work without getting the support of the family, because usually the family would, I'm talking about the parents here, the parents would deny the fact that their child has a problem. And that was not helping. They said, oh, no, he's fine. I mean, why has the teacher referred him for counseling? There's nothing wrong with him. And these are little kids who had various problems like hyperactivity or even learning difficulties. Even something simple like that, they were not willing to accept the fact, and they just kept denying it. So it's important for the family to support its members when they are in difficult situations. So certain comments like these rude comments should be avoided when any family member is going through a mental health issue. And I've just got a few over here. So sometimes these comments are just thrown at that person and makes them feel even worse. So please try to stop the stigma as far as possible. It's good to get help, because that means you're resourceful, you're looking for solutions to your problem, rather than saying that you're weak and that you need somebody else to support you. No, that's not the case. It doesn't mean that you're weak. So we need to stop the stigma, and instead of using such comments which are written here, like, please try to change these statements to I love you no matter what. I'm here to listen. I'm here for you. You're not alone. And can I help you? And all you need to do is just call me, and I'll be there for you. You know, supportive statements like that would really help your family and even your friends. So let's take a look at some of the problems that are faced by spouses, by children, by parents. You could say, you know, it's not just limited to any particular person in the family. So there could be quarrels, frequent differences of opinion, okay, and financial problems, substance abuse. And after substance abuse, after the use of, say, too much of alcohol, it could result in domestic violence. It could be beating up the spouse or the children or people in the family. Okay, or even there's extramarital affairs, and that could lead to mental health issues in the spouse and separation. And you see there the children are also affected. And there are many more problems, but I'm just limited to because I've got limited time today. And here are some of the problems that children face when the parents are fighting. You know, they are really don't like that negative, noisy environment like Reena spoke about. The environment should be more peaceful in order for you to have good mental health. And domestic violence or beating up the children, spanking them, and then sometimes the child is having problems already in school. He's probably having problems with reading or writing, or his grades are falling. He might be bullied at school. And how are the parents going to know unless they talk to the child on a regular basis and find out what he is going through? Okay, and then there's also favoritism, favoring one child, and maybe the other child is having learning difficulties. You know, there's favoritism or even a competition, you know, trying to compete. You have to reach there. These are my expectations of you. No, this is something I couldn't do, but my child is going to go ahead and do it. You know, expecting the child to go through it, and that could result in a sense of you know, low self-esteem, low self-confidence, and mental health issues. So one thing that you need to remember is we always complain, oh, children are not listening to me, but remember that they're always watching you. So they're watching you. They are also listening to you, but they might not listen to you as in do what you say, but they're watching you and they can listen to every word that you are speaking with people in the family. So for example, if you say, no smoking, smoking is bad for health, but you yourself are sitting there and smoking yourself off like a chimney, and you know, the child is watching you, right? Also, you say, you know, you need to respect people, you give respect, you get respect, and what if you yourselves are fighting, pulling out each other's hair and yelling away, and the child is watching. So mental health begins at home with the family, and it's the family that needs to maintain, promote mental health in the family. So then the child is faced with this question. Okay, when it comes to making choices, should I do what my parents do? Well, I've seen my parents do this. They say this, but they're doing this. Or should I not do what my parents do? Okay, what is the choice? They should remember that they can make the right choice. They are entitled to do that. They do not have to do what their parents do, even if their parents are really good and you know, they are children themselves. Like Khalil Gibran says, do not make your children like you. They are not yours. They are on their own. They are from God, and they are entitled to do what they want to do. Yes, you must be supportive, be there for them. We're not saying be permissive parents, but be there for them, but at the same time support them and talk to them on a regular basis, share with them, discuss with them, more peaceful, loving talks rather than arguments. Okay, so it brings us to communication. So communication between family members. Listening is very, very important. If you listen, then only then will you be able to respond to the other person. And then you can say that you can complete this jigsaw puzzle. You know, whatever is a misunderstanding, you can get it there and you could have two-way clear communication. But if there's a misunderstanding, there will be jumping to conclusions and it will cause more fights between arguments in the family when we tend to see things the way we want to see things, not as they actually are, but based on what we are. So it's always good to have a good communication between family members. In fact, years ago when I was working in Dubai in a school, we had this a session which was done by an international business person, and she came there and she was telling us about in our families. In fact, this is a tip for all of you there, to have this time which is called, or you could call it a family meeting. You have this particular time in the week, you set aside this particular time. It doesn't mean the whole day. It could just mean even half an hour, 30 minutes, like a family meeting where you sit there and you just talk maybe certain things which have happened during the week. And even if you have your IPL going on there, you're going to postpone that or schedule it in such a way that, there's nothing there to distract you. So it's a family meeting. And you sit down there and you talk and you discuss, and it's quality time that you're spending, although it's not like sitting in front of a TV or going to the movies together, but you would get to know each other much better. And if you find out what's happening during the week or the week to come through that conversation, then good for you. That will really help. And there's also this, I always come across this problem among children, where I've been working in schools as well as in the university, giving older children responsibility. The oldest child is given responsibility and asked to take care of the younger siblings. Now, if you're talking about giving your children responsibility, yes, you can give them the responsibility by supervising, but not leaving them to do that task like this. So leaving this child, the baby with the oldest child, and saying, okay, I'm going to be back, and change his diapers. And well, the oldest child, he's a child too, and he sees other children enjoying themselves, having fun, and he is stuck at home being the father to this child, or the mother to this child. And this can cause a rift between siblings. It could cause antagonism, and it could lead to bullying. Okay, and this can affect the mental health of children. So if you're giving responsibility, give it with the idea that, with the notion that you are doing something to benefit the child by giving him responsibility, not just, dumping him with everything and just walking off. And it needs to be supervised as well. So in connection with that, don't exchange the roles, not just with the responsibility, but also when it comes to advice and things like that. Because if you're giving the remote control to your child and saying, okay, you press the buttons and I'm going to dance like a monkey, but how long is that remote control going to stay in your child's hand? Okay, this is a question. How long? What if he doesn't want to give you that remote control again? And what if you become so comfortable with your child being the parent and you being the child? It's not fair, because a child is a child. He needs to live his childhood. So do not do that. Do not exchange the roles. And no, not the double standard. Please, telling the child that, well, you're an adult, do it yourself. Oh, no, you're a kid. You don't know anything just yet. No, you're still a child. Okay, the double standard, like whenever it suits us, we just keep swapping. Okay, so also you must say no to your children. Teach them that they cannot get everything in life just, at a snap of a finger, at the drop of a hat. They just can't get everything. They need to learn. You need to learn to say no, and say it assertively. You can sit down and discuss with them. They might feel a little sad about it initially, but you are preparing them for the future, because in life, nothing comes easy. And as a child, if you teach them that, then they're not going to be those highly ambitious or over-ambitious kids who are just looking at achieving success, perfectionism, and not living a regular life like any other child. Okay, they'll be losing out on their childhood this way. And being consistent and encouraging the child to be consistent as well. We as parents sometimes we tend to forget that, but we can instill that in our children and encourage them, so that they will have good mental health. And as a couple, you need to spend quality time as a couple. Yes, you need to spend time talk to each other, spend time, support each other's families. Maybe, we sometimes say in-laws, outlaws, but well, they are also parents, right? They're either the husband's parents or the wife's parents. So support each other's families, the extended families, support each other, and your children are watching you, so you'll be a role model for them. So I think this is a very nice quote here, as if people put as much work into their marriage as they will have to put into a divorce, more people will be happily married. So you might say easier said than done, but it's worth a try. And it's important for you as a couple also to be happy, and when your children see you together happy, then that influences them as well to be happy. Children have fewer mental health problems. Okay, so how about having some time together as a family tonight? But I hope it's not going to be like this, where everyone's sitting with their, with technology. And then there comes the question that when you see other kids reading books and not glued to their iPad or laptops or phones, then you might ask a question as to how do you get your child to read books? And your children are following you, and you are a role model, and they're going to follow you. At the same time, you need to have family time. And for what we call social distancing, I like to call this a social closening of the family members, of course. Yes, because living in the same family, you're not wearing your masks. But this is the time when you stay at home, you can practice a little, cozy time with the family, spend time together, do things that you like, and that's going to enhance your relationships in the family. It's going to promote your mental health. So what happens when we have poor mental health? There are consequences where you find your productivity is low, physical health also drops, resorting to substance abuse, domestic violence, sometimes run away, kids think of running away, or even spouses think of running away, self-harm and suicidal attempts. So it can lead to all of this. So we do not want any of our family members going that way. So the best thing we can do is to help them and help them to maintain their mental health. So here are some effective tips. First thing, as always, listen. Who could tell you better as a counselor? I know that listening is very important, or you will not be able to respond. So listening, listen, because we all want to be listened to. So you also need to listen to your family and members. To build trust, you can build trust by not judging. Don't judge. Build the trust and try to understand the person's situation, give the person the benefit of a doubt. Acknowledging feelings, like I spoke about before, where your denial of feelings happens, denial of emotions. Talk about it. Okay, you can sit together and discuss, talk about it, and acknowledge, accept each other. And very often we tend to demean the person, not the act. If someone's done something wrong, something bad, we say, you're a bad person. And I've heard this being said among children. I've heard children saying to their dad, bad dada, bad mama. Okay, so where are they learning this? They're learning it in the family. We say, bad baby. So demean the act, demean what is the thing that's not gone right. Okay, it was bad to throw something onto your little baby brother, but that doesn't make you a bad person. You're a good person, because often what happens when we demean the person, it results in low self-esteem, sadness. It can get prolonged for days. It can lead to depression. So we do not want that happening to our family members. So please remember this: demean the act, not the person. And being a friend, chatting together as you would with a friend, but always keep that boundary, draw the line as well. Not that in the course of becoming a friend, you tend to interchange roles, switch roles, and then you're not the parent anymore. And always make time for family time, spend some time together, spend some time giving group hugs to each other. That's a good way for you to a bond, you have a bonding time. And you can also maintain mental health. This would be incomplete if I didn't say that you need to have a healthy lifestyle, exercise, like Dr. Talat just said, exercise, spend time with nature. Yes, also having a healthy lifestyle, deep breathing and relaxation techniques. There are different ways of relaxation, and you can see here laughing is, we had a laughing club here in our university last year, and so laughing does help you to get those happy hormones out. So laugh together and think positive, feel positive, but don't be COVID positive. That's the only thing that you need to be negative in. But be positive, be happy, and you will be happy as well. So when you're in need of help, where would you seek help? As a family, if there is a family member, unfortunately, who needs help, besides the mental health professionals that you would find at maybe educational institutions where your children study, or your workplace, or at hospitals, clinics, you can also avail of counseling or therapy apps. Some of these they have certain options which are free and certain which are paid. At the same time, you also have toll-free helplines, like we have 800 Minds, 800 Hope in the UAE. So you can avail of those. So remember, it's okay to not be okay, but it's also okay to ask for help, because asking help is a sign of resourcefulness and not weakness. So I like to end with this line by J.K. Rowling, that family is a life jacket in the stormy sea of life. So thank you so much for your participation, and stay safe.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am, for enlightening us with your wonderful and beautiful session. Some of the highlights of your sessions were beautiful video presentation, common signs individuals should look for the mental health, and it's never too late. As you correctly pointed out, it's never too late. That is the point where you have to boost up your self-confidence and move ahead. And one of the important points you highlighted in your session was family involvement can boost up your self-confidence, stabilizes mood, reduces stress, and can stimulate FGF. FGF expansion is feel good factor. Thank you very much, ma'am. So we have come to an end of today's webinar. It's time to have discussion and clarify few doubts. So I request all the speakers and panelists to come forward. So I would read out a few questions which I can see in the window. There are not many actually, just one or two. Okay, let me just talk about those. I think one question which has been meant to be given for Dr. Talat. Dr. Talat, this question is for you.
Yes.
One of the attendees asking about, in a research study, what you have highlighted in your presentation, were these participants taking antidepressants and antihypertensives, or this is just the effect of nature? Over to you, sir.
Yes, actually, I selected some of the studies. These studies which I selected, people were already on antihypertensive medication, but not all of them were on antidepressant. They were only on antihypertensive medication, and they assessed their depression before exposure to environment and after exposure to the environment. There is a score always. We have everybody. All of us have some sort or some quantity of depression, but not going to the clinical depression. There is a difference between clinical depression and being depressed. If it exceeds some threshold, this is we call clinical depression, which need intervention, which need either antidepressant or psychotherapy or what. But if you go to any person and you apply this test, you will find positive answer that there is some degree of depression in it. They applied this questionnaire on general population, which will give you a scale or a score of depression. And then after exposure, then they applied it again and they found that the score are diminished.
Okay.
But the one study on the antihypertensive medication, all of the people were having hypertension, and all of them were antihypertensive medication. And the result is shown that although they are in the same doses, but their blood pressure improved. And some of them needed to reduce their antihypertensive medication. Did I answer the question or not?
Hopefully, sir, you have answered the question. Thank you very much, sir. I cannot see any more questions in the window. I think the session is open for discussion, if at all any points to be discussed here.
Actually, what is my advice to people, and I know that it is not a good weather to walk these days, but at least we can walk at night. We can walk at night nowadays, and if we are not able to wake, we can go for swimming, for example, in the afternoon. For swimming, the weather will be tolerable, and of course, try to avoid as much as you can the sunlight in the midday. Make it either from 8 to 10 in the morning or from after 5 in the afternoon. This is the best time to expose to the sun. And regarding the nature, my advice, not only to go through the gardens and through between trees, no, but you go for trimming, for example, to cultivate plants in your villa if you are living in a villa, or to the indoor plants you can do it. This is very helpful in your mental and physical health. I don't know if Dr. Rao have any comment on that or not. I know that he likes nature. He is one of the promoters of the mental health.
And I fully agree with you. As you said, the indoor plants, I understand now there are more than 10 plants which can be grown easily or maintained easily inside the house, which are which are also very good for oxygen supply. So for corona, it may be useful.
Yes, because the plants are the lung for the environment. Our lung our environmental lung is the plants, because they consume carbon dioxide and they produce oxygen. So whenever you plant either outdoor or indoor, you are having more oxygen available. And now I don't think that the most precious element now is oxygen nowadays. In the days of the corona and the pandemic, all of us now, oxygen is very valuable with price now, and so we can obtain it priceless through cultivating and through caring for our plants.
Mr. Abdul Salam and Dr. Shweta, please give your input.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Rao. I had one comment. It was very interesting. All the three speakers, fantastic. Dr. Talat and maybe Ms. Carol, whoever can answer. I was just reading a very interesting review yesterday where it said that if you are mentally practicing yoga or any exercise, you produce the same chemicals, neurochemicals, that you do while physically doing that. So some lazy people like me would say that, okay, let's just do a mental yoga, mental fitness session, and that's it. And that's a very big review which has come in Nature. So I was intrigued. What is your opinion on that?
I think you can live in the nature through imagination. Yeah, at least if you can go through it naturally. So yoga, we can imagine living in the nature through yoga. And our brain is very complicated machine. very complicated apparatus. So we can reach many things either through chemistry, through the medication, or through exercise, or through mentalization and yoga. And that is why it is a very complicated machine and all affects each other. Until now, we don't know what is mind and what is brain. But what we can say that we have a mind and a brain, not only brain. We have a mind and brain, and our brain affect our mind and vice versa, and our mind affect our brain. And through meditation, for example, they found this anatomical and physiological and chemical changes happening in the brain. And also, if we give chemistry, or if we give chemical like drugs to the patient, also there is the same alteration in the brain. So it is a complicated. It is the master of the whole universe. Our brain is the most valuable. It's the master of the universe. So whatever available, we can use to improve to enhance our mental health.
If I can just
Dr. Sweta, I'd just like to ask you, how similar were the results of these two studies between the two groups?
Oh, pretty much exactly the same. That was what was the intriguing part. Exactly the same. You know, all the neurochemicals, the serotonin, dopamine, whatever was found was exactly same in both the groups.
Wow, that's amazing.
And also there are many studies, Dr. Sweta, about the effect of exercise on the same neurotransmitter. And they found that the exercise might rise again the serotonin, norepinephrine, and even dopamine, and had the same effect, equal. There are many studies, but we have to be always aware, and we have to be always cautious of the intention behind most of the studies. And we have to go through the methodology and through the design of the study, and to see if it is a strong study or not. This is always because so many studies they want to promote for something. So we have to be aware of that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Abdul Salman, he's a clinical psychologist at NMC Royal Hospital in Sharjah. So, sir, would you like to share your views about this webinar today, about the topics that we covered?
Can you switch on your audio? We are not able to hear you. Yeah, we cannot hear you. No.
You are talking to me or to Professor Rao?
Mr. Abdul.
Yes.
Abdul. Yeah, we are not able to hear you.
You unmute yourself, Mr. Abdul.
He is unmuted, actually. He's unmuted.
Yeah. No, still the same.
Okay.
We cannot hear you. No. No.
No, cannot see you.
Nasir can help, I think.
Yeah, I will call. Yes, sir.
Now, meanwhile, just Tarun, if I can share
Sure.
what Dr. Talat was telling about the exercise and meditation. What to your continuation of your question? See, what we need to understand, I think, actually mind is much more powerful than physical power. But the problem is most of the time we are not able to control our mind. That's why it becomes weak. So actually all these exercise and other thing, when the mind is weak or not so powerful or not so focused, you take the body, your physical approach. But if you can achieve that through the mental approach, obviously it happens when the mind is strong. Then you get the same result. Because see, ultimately, your happiness or your depression is because of the chemicals released. So how you can release your chemical is actually left to us. In what we are expert with, that depends on that. So whenever the mind is strong, definitely it will be possible. So it's not a surprise actually.
Yes, it's not separate. The mind and body are affecting each other. Even there are some studies talked about the effect of praying, not even meditation, praying and spiritual activities, spiritual rituals affecting on the chemical in the brain, and they found it has an effect on the chemical of the brain. And that's why I'm telling our brain is so complicated, so complex that and every door is open for it, and each thing affect each other.
And yet it needs only simple things. Yet it needs only love, only attention, only support. Simple things is only required by it, despite being complex.
Correct.
Yes.
That's why instead of calling it complex, better to go refer it as fascinating.
Indeed.
Yes, I know that Dr. Swida is very interested in the brain function. She is not an ordinary neurologist. She is a neurologist and a philosopher at the same time. And I request her one day to give us a lecture about the connection between our right and left brain and how they are working in the synergy and supporting each other, and what the function of each brain. Actually, we don't have one brain, Doctor. We don't have one brain. We have many brains, but we have one mind. Too many brains. We have the primitive brain, which we were living before with it. Then we have the limbic system, which we share with the mammals and the more developed animals, and we have the cerebral cortex, which we only the one creature who own it, the frontal lobe. Nobody shares with us in this. And this is the connection. This is in the frontal lobe. This is the area of connection between mind and the brain. True, Dr. Suita?
100%, 100%. I call it as romance with the brain.
Yes.
Actually, Dr. Shweta, you can suggest a topic of your interest regarding this, and
100%.
definitely we can organize.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Thank
you. We have submitted, we have domineered the environment. There is a fight, always a fight. Yeah, since the era of civilization, maybe, and we can say the recent development after the agriculture race, after we know how to plant, this is maybe 10 to 15,000 years ago. Since that time, we are very aggressive on the environment. We domineer, we control the environment, but we also domineer our own spirits. And our own spirit become under the control of became mechanical. And what we need is to liberate again our soul, to liberate again our mind, to be to the environment which we destroyed.
I think Mr. Abdul Salam has got some problem in the audio settings, and also he will not be he's able to hear, but he cannot. We are not able to hear him. So I think we will carry on. If any other point for discussion,
yeah. Just I have only two.
Please, sir.
Two points. we have seen some desire. The moment it is fulfilled, we will have next desire waiting, and we forget and we take the life for granted. That's one thing. I always am, very much perplexed with that. Second thing, whenever remembering, we remember the negative things of the past, not the good things. We always quote the negative things of the bad experience or so-called, pleasant experience will never come out so easily. Why is that? And always, I wanted to find the answer. So one of you can answer.
So that's similar to what you're saying is a white sheet of paper and you have a black dot and the attention all goes on the black dot and we forget about the rest of the sheet. I think it's similar to that analogy, what you're saying.
I know. But if actually, see, we should find an answer for this. Probably this will be, helpful for the society.
And it's, I think what I did in my presentation was about the family in, honing the skills towards having good mental health. It's how the upbringing is, because you find some people who are extraordinarily positive because probably they were brought up in that environment, in that family environment. And that's why the family is so important in shaping the child and molding them into whatever they become, whether they turn out to be positive or they're looking at negative instances, giving more importance to the negative than the positive. I think that
But Carol, all the time it doesn't happen. See, we have seen a child grown in the negative environment becomes positive, or vice versa. So it is not exactly all the time replicable. Is it?
Yes.
Yes.
There is a very
Like most of the human studies, Dr. Rao, most of the human studies are not very pure science because there are so many confounding factors.
Yes.
And sometimes the same factors which enhance the mental health is the same factors which destroy the mental health in the future. For example, a child, for example, Einstein. Let us talk about not Einstein, Beethoven. Beethoven was abused. He was a child. When he was a child, he was abused by his father. His father was torturing him and wanted him to be a great musician, and he became a great musician. So it is not necessarily to have the negative life stressor in the early childhood will give the same impact when we get it, because there are other confounding factors. There is other confounding factor, and it's very difficult to sum up all these factors together. And there is not only one-to-one relationship, not only one, but all of the psychologists and all of the psychiatrists and all of the social scientists agree that the diverse life event during childhood will give negative impact in the future. And the most famous study was done by Brown and House. Brown and House, they are coupled who were social worker who done a very big study about the effect of, for example, the loss of parents in a childhood before the age of 11 and the development of depression. They found a great association between losing one parent before the age of 11 and having depression in the adulthood. And also there is a very good association between being sexually abused or physically abused in the childhood and developing of borderline personality disorder. This is now become a fact, not a theory. Fact. Most of the people who are exposed to torture physically or sexually during childhood, they will develop borderline personality disorder or addiction. They become drug misusers or addicts.
Yes, so it's basically an interaction between nature and nurture. So it's what we're born with our genetics from the family, with our environment. It's an interaction, and that's what makes us the people we are. So our personality also influences the way we make choices in life. So our choice would be to look at the negative or the positive also. So it also depends on our personality. So it's not just one factor, like Sir said. It's a lot of other factors as well. So I agree with you.
There is a beautiful, sir, evolutionary bias that we have in the brain. It's called Teflon and Velcro. So we are always Teflon to positive, but Velcro to negative because of that survival, fight, flight, or freeze, the limbic and the reptilian system allowing us to only survive. But if we come beyond that, then everything, you know, all the negativity sort of disappear, because now we are in the cognitive, rational, real human brain, which we are supposed to be doing. However, I think very few of us really have the courage to go into that area and explore.
Yes.
Which
This is how the primitive, Dr. Sweeta, exactly what you say. I'm telling you that we have many brains. This is how our primitive brain is working. Fight, flight mechanism. Fight, flight mechanism. So we always keep the bad memory to protect ourselves from repeating it again. And always, chemically speaking, maybe Dr. Taron might agree with me, how we change, how to consolidate our memory. Always the memories associated with bad feeling is more entrenched in the brain than the memories associated with normal or happy feeling. And long-acting potentiation, if you remember that in physiology, it will more strong if we have a bad emotions. All with this is the answer of the question of Dr. Rao, why we are always remembering the negative things in our past more than the positive, because this is more entrenched in the memory, in our memory, for protection of our future. This is how the primitive brain work. We keep it because we don't want to repeat it again.
Yes.
But does it serve the purpose of protection? Instead of protection, there will be more conflicts by recollecting.
Yes. Well, this is the development. When we grow, what I meant by grown mentally, not growing physically. When we grow, as Dr. Sweeta now say, we will overcome this. We will go transcend. We call it ego transcendent, or transcendental ego. We will go beyond this. We will go beyond this, and we will might rememorize it in a positive way and in a healthy way, and to use it for development rather than for mourning and remorse.
Yes, sir. Like Dr. Talat said about remembering things, it brings to mind that we also tend to remember things for which we are emotionally very close to, be it something positive or be it something negative. We tend to remember these things more often rather than things which we are not emotionally attached to. So that also could account for the reason why we hold on. But then the positive and the negative, maybe sometimes you have that fake support that you have with the negative instances. One just want to hold on to them and not let them go, which we term as human nature. But yes, this is something that we could probably have a separate session about.
We have to go from lizard brain to wizard brain. That is the leap that we have to take.
Yes. No, we want to go to the human brain, Doctor. We want to go to the human brain.
Already we have the wizard brain, but it's a confused wizard brain, I think.
We have to go to the proper human brain and to go beyond the fight, flight, and to protective measure, to more promotion, and to add to our life and to the life of the others. One thing make us happy is to go away from ourselves to others. And if we focus on the well-being of others, our well-being will improve for sure. And if we focus to help others and to make others happy, this will be reflected on you. And this is not one of the primitive brain, or this is the human, or it should be the human brain. And also, again, connection with nature, which is very, very important, because this is our genes. We have common genes with our ancestors, and we inherited from our ancestors and from even animals, and which were part of the nature. So we don't have to go away from our nature. And if you see any writer or any novelist or any creative boy, most of them were born in villages and in rural areas. Most of them. I never, very rare to see one of the big writer or big artists who were born in a rural. So, okay, Dr. Suita, most of them, because most of them were indulged with the nature. When they were children, they were living with animals. I was born in a village, and I was born in a house with a very big garden, maybe more than 1 foot down. And this garden, all the day we were playing in this garden. We don't go home or we didn't go inside unless in the end of the day. All the day we were playing there. And we see lizard, we see all types of birds, all types of animals, even snakes we used to see. And this was interaction with the environment, interaction with the trees, which were very old trees. And when I see my children are playing with the internet or this PlayStation and all this, sometimes I think when they grow up, what memory will they have? What memory they have? And that's why they never listen or interact with the classic music, for example, or the poems, or no. If they want to read, they read something scientific, and they read news, and they read all this very concrete, very concrete. So I hope we can teach our generation to be in contact with the nature.
Thank you so much for the very interesting discussion.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Tarun, yeah.
Yes. So finally, we have come to the conclusion. We would like to thank to the Vice Chairman, REC-MHSU Board of Governors, President Sir, Dr. S. Gurmadhav Rao, speakers, Ms. Reena Thomas, Dr. Talat, and Mrs. Carol Matthias, panelists, Mr. Abdul Salman, and Dr. Shweta, Medical Director, RAC Hospital, Chief Executive Officer, RAC Hospital, Dr. Jean, Dean RACCOMS, Dr. Barry, CME Chairperson, Dr. Chaitanya Garg. Thank you, each and everyone. I would be failing my duty if I don't thank the attendees. Thank you for your active participation. I also would like to express my thankfulness to IT department for providing this wonderful platform and all the facilities to carry out this webinar effectively. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.